Part 154. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1531. Chapter 1531. Little Mickey is missing. One more mouthful of mango Murongye was already well enough to eat by himself, but he wanted Chi Lili to feed him. If he didn't feed him, he would say a lot of love words to disgust Chi Lili, which made her cry and laugh at the same time, very helpless. Seeing that the relationship between her sister and her boyfriend is getting better and better, Qian Yuman is very happy and hopes that her sister will be so happy in the future. After putting down the fruit, Qian Yuman did not go in to disturb them. She sent a text message to her sister to express her condolences and left. Since Qian Yuman was going to hold a wedding, she could actually just ignore it and be a happy bride. However, since this was the only wedding in her life, she always wanted to organize it herself. She dragged Yang Yanliu back and forth, happily preparing for the wedding. She was very envious of Qian Yuman who could hold a wedding. It was a pity that Tang Xingai had said that he would not hold a wedding. Although their relationship is much better now than before, she still didn't dare to ask Tang Xingai whether they would hold a replacement wedding. She is still a little cautious about this marriage. Unlike Tang Yuj and the others, they get along comfortably and do not worry too much about whether the other party will be unhappy. As a result, whether she was too happy to pay attention or too unlucky, she had inexplicable wounds of various sizes on her body these past few days. Tang Yuj rushed to the hospital nervously. When he heard that Qian Yuman had been knocked unconscious by a falling vase, he turned pale with fright and rushed over to see Qian Yuman's condition. Qian Yuman, whose head was bandaged, looked at Tang Yuj's nervous look in a funny way. "Why are you so nervous? I'm fine." "You said it's okay, look at your forehead." Tang Yuj frowned displeased, felt sorry for her, and held her in his arms. "It's really okay, it's just a cut. I wasn't hit by the flower pot, but the debris from the unfortunate flower pot hit my forehead and scratched it. Now I'm worried about whether my appearance will be damaged. If it is, it will be ugly. Even if my wife has scars, she is still the most beautiful wife." Qian Yuman was amused by Tang Yuj's few words and happily lay in his arms. "Your little mouth is the sweetest. This is what I say from the bottom of my heart." Qian Yuman grabbed Tang Yuj's finger, played with it in her hand, and said with some melancholy, "But I've been really unlucky recently. I wonder if I should go to the temple to ask for an amulet." "You have been really unlucky recently," Tang Yuj said thoughtfully. "Since they came back, many accidents, big and small, have happened. From that day when Qian Yuman went to visit Murongye, she first got into a car accident, and then while walking in the crowd, she was knocked down and her knees were broken. Later, when a couple was fighting, the woman accidentally threw her cell phone at her and hit her in the stomach, causing her pain for several days. This kind of thing has happened frequently in the past week, even several times a day. Today, I was almost hit by a flower pot falling from the sky. If you are worried, I will accompany you to the temple tomorrow to pray for peace and blessings." "Okay, let's take the children with us then. They haven't been to any temple in China yet." "Whatever you say is fine." Tang Yuj smiled fondly. Qian Yuman happily planned whether to go to Longhua Temple, where it would be best to seek peace. Buy some jade pendants for the two little ones to keep them safe. If they can stay in the temple for a few days, they can completely eliminate the bad luck that has been happening to her these days. These past few days, she has been unlucky enough to drink water through her teeth. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1532. Chapter 1532. Little Mickey is missing too. At this time, Qian Yuman had no idea whether the accidents around them were really coincidences or the work of intentional people. After all, in their eyes, these things are just trivial matters that can be ignored. It is even more difficult to think of things as deliberate actions by thoughtful people and just as bad luck for themselves. The next day, Tanyuj took his whole family to Longhua Temple to pray. The little guy, who was visiting the temple for the first time, looked around curiously. Seeing a dozen chubby stray cats under the big tree in the temple, Ruru curiously ran over to play with Maomi. These cats were like spirits. Not only were they not afraid of children, they even took the initiative to play with them. "Honey, wait for me here for a while, I'll go in and find the host," Tanyuj touched Jianyuman. "Don't run around. It's a holiday today, so there are a lot of people." "I know, you go quickly." Jianyuman waved her hand and looked at Ruru, who was playing with the kitten. Her eyes became very gentle. Ruru Jianyuman walked over and touched her daughter's head. "Do you like kittens?" "I like it," Ruru nodded wildly. "But my brother said that if you raise a kitten, it will fight with Cupid. Dogs and cats are incompatible. So I'm so confused and want to raise a plump kitten. Cats are so cute." "Not all cats will fight with dogs. Usually cats don't bother to fight with dogs. So, Mommy, are you willing to raise a kitten for Ruru?" Ruru's eyes lit up and she pulled Jianyuman's arm excitedly. "Mommy, I don't want to raise you." Little Mickey had a serious face, expressing his unhappiness. Why don't you keep one? Don't they all say that boys love cats? Why is it the other way around when it comes to the children? It's too troublesome, and the cat is not as cute as the panda in Uncle Ian's house. Mom, why don't you ask Dad to adopt a panda for us to play with? Little Mickey has always wanted one since he went to Lan Tianlu's house last time and saw the giant pandas raised at his house. It's not that it's not easy to adopt a giant panda, maybe they actually get one. Little Mickey, although giant pandas also have cats, they are different from kittens. They are bears. When they grow up, they can slap you to death, so don't even think about raising pandas, Jianyuman said lovingly. He smiled and explained the dangers of giant pandas. Although giant pandas are cute, they are also dangerous and not suitable for children to play with. Well, Cupid is enough. Why don't Mommy let Cupid give birth to a litter of puppies? Then there will be a lot of puppies at home, Ruru suggested happily. Little Mickey looked disgusted again. I really don't understand why girls like raising small animals. Don't you find it troublesome? He must raise the coolest animals. He doesn't want to raise small animals at all. Okay, Jianyuman nodded happily. It had been many years since Cupid last gave birth to a cub. It had been so long that she almost forgot that Cupid was a female dog. Mommy, I will play with the kitten for a while longer. Brother, please accompany me. Ruru smiled sweetly and took little Mickey's hand to find the kitten. The white kitten just now was so beautiful that she really wanted to touch it. Touch. Jianyuman watched the children move around with a smile, her eyes never leaving them. At this time, a monk dressed as a monk walked up to Jianyuman and saluted her. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dalby in the World. Chapter 1533. Chapter 1533. Little Mickey is missing 3. Jianyuman watched the children move around with a smile, her eyes never leaving them. At this time, a monk dressed as a monk walked up to Jianyuman and saluted her. Thousands of donors. Hello, Master. Jianyuman returned the greeting solemnly, a little surprised why Tanyuj was not by his side. The monk's originally loving expression suddenly set in surprise after seeing Jianyuman's facial features clearly. Has the donor been in bad luck lately? Disasters keep coming to his door. Hey, how do you know? Jianyuman said with some surprise. The monk smiled lightly, looked at Jianyuman, and continued. The strangest thing about the poor monk is that although the donor has been unlucky recently, he is still very happy. It should be that something happy is coming. If I guessed correctly, you are pregnant and will get married soon. Qian Yuman's mouth widened in surprise, and she looked at this clever monk in shock. Master, you are too accurate. Can you tell fortunes? She had just tested out Qian Yuman's pregnancy in the morning. After the last incident, she planned to go to the hospital for a good checkup after leaving the temple, and then tell Tang Yuj about the happy news. Unexpectedly, the monk broke the news in just a few sentences, and even told her that she was going to get married. This was amazing. While Qian Yuman was talking to the monk, her eyes were always focused on the children, and occasionally her eyes would fall on the monk. The monk replied with a kind smile. The poor monk doesn't know how to tell fortunes. He can only figure it out from the donor's complexion. That's also very powerful. Qian Yuman gave the monk a thumbs up. He was more than powerful. She didn't believe him even though he said he couldn't tell fortunes. The donor has been quite unlucky recently and should pay more attention to his surroundings. Perhaps these misfortunes are just the beginning and he needs to pay more attention. Ah, Qian Yuman opened her mouth in surprise and asked nervously. Then do you have any solution? I've been so unlucky that I almost cried. Are you saying this is just the beginning? Yes. If the donor doesn't pay attention, he may lose his wife and children and regret it for the rest of his life. If he doesn't pay attention, I am afraid that you and the people around you will be unlucky together. The best thing for you is to stay away from relatives and friends and spend your time at home. Bad luck for the next month. Oh, got it? What the monk said became more and more mysterious and accurate, which made Qian Yuman feel goosebumps all over his body. If it is true as the monk guessed, and she does not pay attention, she will suffer disaster in the future. Thank you, Master, for reminding me. Are you not the only host here? My husband went to find the host. I think you are so good, you must be the host here. The monk smiled and shook his head, looking at the sky, silent. Qian Yuman wanted to say something more to the monk. She looked in the direction of her children, but suddenly she didn't see Ruru and little Mickey. She was so frightened that she immediately ran over to where they were playing with the cat. Ruru, little Mickey, Qian Yuman shouted nervously. She had only looked away for a few seconds, but no one was there. Qian Yuman shouted nervously, regardless of the fact that the temple could not make loud noises. The nervous look of Qian Yuman, a beautiful beauty, attracted the attention of people around her. Some passers-by who saw where the children were going pointed Qian Yuman in the direction in which the children left. Damn little guy, why are you so disobedient? Even though I told you not to run away, you actually disappeared from my sight. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1534. Chapter 1534. Little Mickey is missing 4. Damn little guy, why are you so disobedient? Even though I told you not to run away, you actually disappeared from my sight. Ruru's small figure appeared in her sight again. Qian Yuman breathed a sigh of relief and immediately ran over, holding Ruru's hand and asking. Ruru, where is little Mickey? Qian Yuman looked around, but she didn't see little Mickey. Ruru's eyes were a little confused. She looked at Qian Yuman and shook her head, as if the person in front of her was not her mother, but a passerby. Ruru, what's wrong with you? Qian Yuman patted her cheek, realizing that something was wrong with her daughter. At this time, Tang Yuj, who came with the host, noticed at a glance that something was wrong. Manman, where is your son? I don't know. Qian Yuman shook her head in panic, her eyes quickly turning red. Ruru doesn't know what's wrong, she seems a little confused. Tang Yuj frowned, walked over quickly, stared at his daughter for a second, stretched out his hand and snapped his fingers in front of her eyes. Return to the soul. The next second, Ruru's eyes turned clear and she looked at Qian Yuman and Tang Yuj with some confusion. Daddy, Mommy, "What's wrong with you?" Ruru asked with a sweet smile. The couple sank down at the same time. Tanyuj immediately took out his mobile phone and called the bodyguards scattered around. Half a minute after the call was made, several people came running over panting. "Mr. Tang." Tanyuj frowned and looked at the bodyguards, already understanding what was going on. "Did you see anyone else?" "No, they were outside the temple. They ran in after hearing the order, but they didn't see any other colleagues." Tanyuj sighed deeply. During this period, he had sent many bodyguards around him to protect his wife and children. Even if he went to find the host, there were still more than a dozen bodyguards secretly protecting him. Unexpectedly, something happened. The 10 bodyguards who didn't show up may not be able to come. Immediately send someone to look for my son and use the largest connections and channels to find him. I am curious about who dares to take my son away and confuse my daughter. Qian Yuman's face was as pale as snow, and she could hardly stand still. She staggered up to Tanyuj, grabbed his hand, and said excitedly, "Mr. Tang, what's going on? Where is little Mickey? Where are the others?" Her sight was only gone for a few seconds. How could she disappear? "I'm afraid that someone took away my son," and Ruru was hypnotized by someone using advanced hypnosis, and she automatically spread her legs and ran around. If I guessed correctly, the direction Ruru left was completely opposite to the direction where her son was taken away. "I'm afraid they've all left now. How could it be possible? It's impossible. I've only been away from my eyes for a few seconds. How could I be taken away by someone?" Moreover, Ruru was hypnotized. Except for playing with the cat, there were no strangers around her just now. Qian Yuman couldn't figure out how so many things happened when she didn't look at them for just a few seconds. "Don't worry, I will find our son. Besides, little Mickey is so smart, he will be fine." Qian Yuman squatted down in pain, covered her face and cried, "It's all my fault. It's all my fault. I didn't take good care of my son and only talked to the monk. Why am I such a failure as a mother?" "Honey, it's not your fault." Tanyuj's face was ugly. Seeing Qian Yuman's painful look, he held her in his arms and comforted her. "Husband, close the door quickly," also known as hubby. "The bed is about to collapse. Is about to end." After 1 year of updates, we have experienced a lot. Everyone is happy, sad following Tanyuj and Qian Yuman. The finale is coming soon. What do you want to say to them and me? Therefore, for this event, everyone will give a speech, telling their experience of reading the book, their feelings for the protagonist and the supporting characters, and what they want to say to His Majesty. We do not pursue your writing style, but only pursue the initial touch. The activity is divided into first, second, and third prizes. First prize, 50 red envelopes and a collector's edition book. 2 second prizes, 30 red envelopes. Third place in the third level, 20 red envelopes. The ranking will be determined based on the most popular replies. The event ends in early August. Please pay attention to the awards in August. Dear concubines, what are you waiting for? Come and post a long comment. P.S. It is best to type it in a notepad, notebook, etc., and then paste it into the comment area. Be careful that long comments will be swallowed by the system. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1535. Chapter 1535. Little Mickey is missing 5. Tanyuj's eyes flickered. "Honey, did you just say monk?" "Yes. There was a monk talking to me just now, and I briefly looked away from my son. I didn't expect that something like this would happen in just a few seconds. If I had known this, I should have stayed with them beside me, watching them all the time." At this moment, Qian Yuman regretted so much and regretted why she didn't keep an eye on her child. Little Mickey, this child, has always rarely worried her. In the past, even if she ignored him for a few minutes, he would be by her side obediently. Little Mickey once went out to find Tanyuj alone, causing her to have a false alarm. Little Mickey's extraordinary performance since childhood almost made her forget that he was just over 3 years old, just a child. Unexpectedly, something happened this time, even in front of him. How did she become a mother? She is a failed mother. If something happened to little Mickey, she would never forgive herself for what she had done in her life. President, call all the monks in your temple over. Tanyuj looked at the host with a somewhat cold gaze. This incident happened in the temple. Although the host was not to blame, it was really related to the monks in the temple. He would never let them off lightly. 4 or 5 minutes later, the entire temple was empty without any pilgrims. All the pilgrims who were nearby were taken away for questioning by Tanyuj's people, and in front of them stood the monks from all the temples. Mr. Tang, what are you? Qian Yuman looked at Tanyuj puzzled as to why he called all the monks here. Wife, look to see if there is a monk who can communicate with you. Qian Yuman is not stupid. Tanyuj's few words made a terrible possibility flash through her mind. She may have fallen into a trap. Starting from the monk who spoke to her, everything was a routine. First, a monk was used to divert her attention. Although Ruru was hypnotized, Ruru diverted her target for the second time. Little Mickey was taken away from another direction when Ruru was hypnotized. All of this is premeditated. After Qian Yuman looked at each monk clearly, the answer she got was that none of them were monks she knew. Sure enough, Tanyuj's face became increasingly ugly, while Qian Yuman cried sadly in his arms. Mr. Tang, Okay, it's not your fault. Tanyuj sighed helplessly and comforted Qian Yuman. It seems that this matter is not simple, perhaps more complicated than he imagined. Now the enemy is in the dark, and they are in the light. Tanyuj next mobilized all his forces and launched a blanket search across the country, hoping to catch the man behind the scenes. Qian Yuman has been crying every day since little Mickey disappeared. As each day passes, the news about little Mickey seems to have disappeared, and there is no news at all. Even the passers-by that day did not notice how little Mickey left the temple. Little Mickey, as if evaporating from the world, disappeared completely. When Grandma Tang heard that little Mickey was missing, she thought of Tanyuj's disappearance and fell ill. The entire atmosphere of the Tang family has hit rock bottom. The Tang family has not been at peace recently, from the Yang Yanliu incident to the little Mickey incident. Qian Yuman can do nothing but wait for the results of Tanyuj's investigation every day. She can't eat well or sleep well. Remember to go out and write during the event. Get the red envelope and post in the comment area. Get moving. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1536. Chapter 1536. Little Mickey is missing 6. Qian Yuman's situation lasted for a long time. No matter how Tanyuj comforted her, she couldn't eat well or sleep well, and she cried all day long. She was timid and frightened when she thought of little Mickey, the son she had raised through so much hardship, whose life and death were still unknown. Even in the middle of the night, I would be awakened by nightmares, and then break down and cry. The matter of losing her son brought a huge psychological shadow to Qian Yuman. Although Tanyuj was by her side to guide her, she still could not completely solve it. She was still in pain and sad. On this day, Tanyuj came back from outside. When Qian Yuman saw the other person, he rushed over, grabbed his hand excitedly and asked, "How is it? Is there any news about your son?" Tanyuj nodded slowly and took a deep look at Qian Yuman. "There is probably a direction, but..." Just what? Tanyuj took a deep breath and held Qian Yuman's hand. It's just that there is no evidence. The other party's methods are too meticulous. Maybe he has planned all these things for a long time. There are not many people in this world who can do this. There is only one possibility, and they are the only ones to do this. So many things, but it makes sense. Who? The boss behind Wuji organization. When Tanyuj said it, his voice became much colder. This organization has always been at odds with Tanyuj. The last time they provoked them was when Qian Yuman had an accident. That time, Qian Yuman and Kenny were almost killed. It was not because they were lucky, but God was pitiful. Maybe Qian Yuman had already had an accident that time. Before, Qian Yuman was kidnapped, and she was almost defiled by a man. If it weren't for her cleverness in delaying time, she would have encountered misfortune that time. They have many disputes with the Wuji organization, and their relationship has long been in dire straits. They have not caused trouble to Tanyuj and the others during this period of time, because Tanyuj used his methods to carry out a large-scale attack on the Wuji organization, leaving them no time to think of ways to frame them. After his blows, they were so weakened that they thought they had retreated. Tanyuj still doesn't know why people from the Wuji organization do all kinds of vicious things. What he could guess was that there was a certain friction in his career, and after his revenge, he must have behaved, retreated, and become timid. Unexpectedly, they came back again. Qian Yuman grabbed Tanyuj's hand excitedly. Now that we know who it is, let's go and get our son back. No matter what kind of request they make, we will try our best to agree to it. Tanyuj shook his head slowly. This matter is not simple. I once tried to communicate, but the people from the Wuji organization pretended not to know about the matter and refused to admit that they kidnapped their son. And we have no evidence, let alone find the boss of the Wuji organization directly. This thing is getting more and more difficult to get, much more difficult than he imagined. What should we do? Qian Yuman clutched her chest in pain. My son has been kidnapped for 3 days. I don't know how he is doing now. Is he eating and drinking well? Is he being abused? Or maybe, thinking that his son might have suffered an accident, he felt dizzy, but fortunately, Tanyuj's quick eyesight and hands helped him. Honey, are you okay? I told you to eat and sleep well, but you don't listen. If Mickey comes back and sees his mother too tired, he will blame himself. Recommend a friend's article, book title, Seducing a Wife into the Arms, Boss, Are You Good or Bad? Author, Moguo. Introduction. Her scumbag ex-husband felt that it was too cheap for her to get clean and leave the house, so he had someone drug her and planned to beat her up, play with him on the ground, and then kick him out of the house. She climbed out of the window and escaped. The drug took effect, but she put the beastly boss, who she usually avoided, to sleep. The beast was delighted and admired the ambiguous kiss marks on her body. You follow me, and I will give you everything you want. Besides, I will be tough when you ask for it. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1537. Chapter 1537, 1 month pregnant. Tanyuj's pressure during this period was definitely no lighter than that of Qian Yuman. He had to look for his son outside and comfort his wife, who was sad and self-reproaching when he returned home. My daughter would still cry for her brother. He had lost several pounds in just 3 days. For the first time, he felt that he was powerless and failed to do things well. There has never been so much pressure. Qian Yuman shook her head slowly, trying to force out a smile, but she felt so tired that she leaned limply in Tanyuj's arms. I'm worried about my son. He must be very scared now. He is only 3 years old. I am so scared that I will lose her in this life. This fear was constantly in her mind. She blamed herself and regretted countless times, wishing that if she could go back to 3 days ago, she would have kept a close eye on her son and would not even go to the temple to worship, so that they would not have deceived her son away. When they realized it, they realized that everything was a trap for others. First, he deliberately created a bunch of little accidents to cause trouble for them, and then he went to the temple to worship. It was all a trap set up by others. They walked in and ended up losing the child. If time could come back, Tianyuman would definitely protect little Mickey, but time would not come back again. The child was gone and they could not find it. The only suspects refused to admit that they had done this. Everything seems to have a clue, but there seems to be no clue at all. "Wife, don't worry, I will definitely bring the child back to you," Tanyuj said solemnly. This sentence is not only the responsibility of a father, but also the guarantee of a man and a husband to his wife. No matter what, no matter how difficult it is, he will return the child to his wife intact. The light bulb that once seemed redundant has really disappeared, which has brought huge changes to their lives. "Husband, I..." Another wave of dizziness struck, and Tianyuman fainted directly in Tanyuj's arms. Tanyuj was so frightened that he immediately picked up his wife and rushed to a nearby hospital. "What? I'm pregnant," Tanyuj looked shocked. The joy of becoming a father again made him want to cheer and scream with joy. But she couldn't help but worry about whether Tianyuman's current body could protect the child in her belly. She has been so weak recently and lost a lot of weight. She cannot even take good care of herself. How can she take care of the child in her belly? But no matter what, this is also a good thing for them. They have wanted to have another child and have been thinking about it for a long time. "I just didn't expect that the child would arrive at this juncture. Mr. Tang, Ms. Tang's body is too weak now and she needs a good rest. Her body is malnourished and she doesn't get enough rest, which is why she has fetal gas. She needs to take good care of her baby in the next week and maintain a good attitude." "Thank you, doctor." Tanyuj nodded, still very happy about the upcoming child. Looking at Tianyuman, who looked a little pale tenderly, he sighed softly. "This child is only 1 month old. They got it when they went to the resort. They expected the wedding to be less than a month away. Just at this moment, something happened. No, he couldn't just sit back and wait for death. Since the people of the Waji organization refused to admit it, he would force them to admit it and take the child back from their hands. There is always a way to let them know that the consequences of offending him, Tanyuj, are not something they can bear easily. End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Daobi in the World. Chapter 1538. Chapter 1538. News about Little Mickey. In a hut in a hot wild forest, little Mickey woke up from his daze, then quickly sat up from his position and looked at the surrounding environment warily. These days, he has been in a hazy state, as if he is constantly moving and changing positions. He clearly understood that something had happened to him and he was forcibly taken away by a stranger. Before he fell into coma, his mouth and nose were covered with drug, so he had no time to call his mother for help before he was taken away. Little Mickey still remembers what happened before he fell into coma, when he and Ruru were playing with the cat. Those cats looked magical, and Ruru couldn't put them down. Later, she found that Ruru's eyes became a little confused, and finally she looked stupid. He realized something was wrong and wanted to call Tianyuman, who was not far away. Unexpectedly, at this time, a person would suddenly appear next to him, run over and grab him, apply a handkerchief with a stun drug, cover his nose, and run away quickly. His small body could not resist them at all. His needle were of no avail and he could only be taken away helplessly. His brain would slowly lose consciousness and he would eventually faint. These days, he has been in a haze every day. When he wakes up a little, he will be knocked out by others. His consciousness was not completely absent, so he could feel that after riding in the car for a long time, he came to a place that was hotter than where they were. It was not until recently that he finally woke up. Little Mickey looked around quickly and did not see the people who took him away. He is now in a room. There is almost nothing in the room, and it is a little dark. The sunlight streaming in from the crack in the door can guess that it is still daytime. Little Mickey slowly sat up from the bed and climbed down from the bed that was almost as high as him. His long sleeves were a little warm and he walked toward the door uncomfortably. Going to the door, he did not open it immediately. Instead, he stood there and listened quietly to the sounds around him. It was eerily quiet here, with only the sound of the wind blowing, and no other sounds of talking or people moving around. It was as if there was no one around. Aren't his captors here? Even better, he could take the opportunity to escape. Mummy and Daddy must be very worried about him now, and he needs to go back as soon as possible. Little Mickey pushed the door gently and it opened. He was a little surprised that the door was not locked. When he walked out and saw the picture, he was so shocked that he couldn't close his mouth from ear to ear. What's going on? Where are we? The scene in front of him shocked little Mickey's little head and made him speechless. He was not in the environment he was familiar with at all, and the environment in front of him was something he had never been before. At first glance, you can see the vast expanse of grassland, endless drinking water, and even a few elephants playing by the river. There was only the wooden house behind him and no other buildings around him. Oh my God, where have I been? Little Mickey was so surprised. The hot weather, coupled with elephants and grasslands, two words appeared in his mind. Africa. Haven't he come to Africa? This is too. He couldn't describe his current mood in words. He confidently looked at the surrounding environment. It was too desolate. There was no food, only some grass and a few big trees in the distance. Why did he come to a place where birds don't poop? Was it the people who kidnapped him who came to Africa from Asia? But finally left here? Given the surrounding environment, there was nothing but water, and he would starve to death within a few days. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dowby in the World. Chapter 1539. Chapter 1539 A place where birds don't poop. Why did he come to a place where birds don't poop? Was it the people who kidnapped him who came to Africa from Asia? But finally left here? Given the surrounding environment, there was nothing but water, and he would starve to death within a few days. Would you go to all the trouble to throw him to Africa and wait for him to starve to death? Are they sick? Even though little Mickey is only over 3 years old, he still finds something strange about this. Fortunately, little Mickey is the son of Tanyuj and Chianyuman. He has been smart since he was a child, and is smarter than many 6 or 7-year-old children. In addition, I have seen a lot of things with my parents, and I am growing rapidly every day. He has liked reading books since he was a child, and has also read books on survival in the wild. Although it is not of much use to him, he knows how to solve things better than a child who knows nothing. When encountering this incident, he was not worried or scared, but calmly thought about how to solve the problem. That is to leave here. If there is a wooden house here, someone must have lived here, and it is also very likely that this is a temporary place for others to live. He couldn't sit still and wait to die. There was no food here, and he might starve to death before waiting for anyone. Little Mickey stepped forward with his short legs and walked in one direction intuitively. Fortunately, the directions he could choose were not unlimited. There was a river on the left, and there was absolutely no problem in walking to the other side of the river. Not long after little Mickey had walked with his short legs, he felt something approaching behind him. He jumped up in fright. When he saw clearly, What came over was the elephant mother and her son who were drinking water by the river just now. They stood not far behind him, looking at him curiously. Little Mickey took a step back in fear. These elephants are all wild elephants. Who knows if they will suddenly go crazy and crush him? He has no confidence in fighting with elephants. The little elephant slowly approached little Mickey. He was very curious about little Mickey's existence and the color of his body. From time to time, he talked to his mother beside him. Little Mickey doesn't understand elephants, let alone what they are talking about. He just wants to leave quickly and is wary of the elephants possibly attacking him. The little elephant seemed to notice his timidity, and slowly brought its trunk closer to him, very slowly, with its eyes smiling as if to please him. "What are you doing?" Little Mickey took a step back, a little afraid of him. Although this little elephant is small, it is many times bigger than him. The baby elephant showed friendliness to him, gently wagging its trunk, and without Mickey being prepared, sprayed the water from its nose into his face, and then made a joyful sound. Little Mickey puffed up his cheeks, a little annoyed. The baby elephant's trunk came close to little Mickey, touched him gently, and flickered its ears to express friendship. Little Mickey froze and passively accepted the friendly interaction of the little elephant. He did not dare to struggle until he was sure that the little elephant had no ill intentions, and then he breathed a sigh of relief. The baby elephant suddenly rolled up his body with his trunk and lifted him into the air. Little Mickey was so scared that he hugged the baby elephant's trunk tightly. "What are you doing? Are you trying to pinch me to death?" The little elephant put down little Mickey again and said something to the elephant mother. The elephant mother rolled over little Mickey's little body and lifted it up again. Through this series of actions, the elephant mother and her son did not hurt him. They were careful and friendly. Little Mickey was put on the back of the baby elephant by the elephant mother. The baby elephant moved its ears happily and made a loud sound, like a departure horn. "Little Mickey, Ben is so cool, even elephants in the wild like me." End of this chapter. After the flash marriage, the character collapsed. Author, Dowby in the World. Chapter 1540. Chapter 1540 The Adventures of Little Mickey 1. All this was not over yet, and then the little elephant carried little Mickey on its back and slowly began to move its pace. Little Mickey was so frightened that he quickly hugged the elephant's neck and lay on its back, his little body trembling slightly. "What's the situation? What is an elephant doing in the wild? Aren't you afraid of him? Isn't it said that elephants in the wild are not gentle?" Sure enough, books can sometimes be deceiving. Elephants don't seem to be afraid of people anymore. They obviously look good. No matter what, little Mickey couldn't get off the elephant's back. Secondly, he couldn't find anyone to ask for help, so he could only lie on the elephant's back and grieve. The elephant and the baby elephant were walking slowly on the open grass with little Mickey. Little Mickey gradually lost his fear and found that the two elephants were very gentle and did not seem to harm him. Slowly, he lost his fear. He sat up from the little elephant and looked curiously at the elephant walking beside him. Elephants are very intelligent. They look at him, bark happily, and occasionally interact with him. Gradually, little Mickey was no longer afraid of the elephant. He reached out his hand and gently touched the elephant's back, but he was not treated badly either. "Where are you taking me?" little Mickey asked curiously, regardless of whether the elephant or the others understood, and began to mutter to themselves. "I miss my mommy so much. I don't know what she is like now. I have been missing for so many days. She must be very sad. The last thing I want is for my mommy to be sad. I feel sad every time I see her cry. I'm here. She disappeared right under her nose, she must be blaming herself, and now she is looking for me all over the world. She certainly didn't expect that her precious son would be thrown to Africa to die by a group of bad guys. I don't know what those bad guys were thinking. They went to such great lengths to send me to Africa, and then they didn't see a single person. Did they want me to starve to death here? I don't even think about it. I am just a child over 3 years old. If I were any other child, I would be sitting on the ground crying, waiting for death to come slowly. But even if I am as smart as I am, I don't know what to do. There are no phones, no mobile phones, and no one here. Even a smart mind will die. Do you understand what I am saying? I know you won't understand. But I miss mommy so much. Little Mickey lay on the back of the elephant sadly, his eyes were wet and tears were about to fall. Even though he is as smart as little Mickey, he is just a child who has been growing up under the wings of his parents. I have never encountered such a thing before, and I never thought that I would encounter such a thing. I didn't know how to survive for a while. The elephants seemed to sense little Mickey's sadness. They flashed their big ears and made sounds, as if they were making little Mickey happy, or as if they understood his words and cheered her up. How do you cheer up? Do you want me to follow you? Whatever you eat, I will eat whatever to survive. That's right if you think about it. They can survive the elephant, why can't he? Although it is a bit painful, it is still better than death. Or there will always be a chance to see mommy and daddy again. The more little Mickey thought about it, the more he felt that it should be like this, and his whole life became full of life. Thank you, I will try my best to survive. Little Mickey smiled brightly, lying on the back of the elephant, thinking about Jianyuman and the others. I really miss mommy and the others. I'm so hungry. I really want to eat mommy's cooking, including mommy's signature sweet and sour pork ribs. End of this chapter.